Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
WisconsinEye coverage of the 2018 elections continues. We're at Milwaukee Public Library. Kalan Haywood of Milwaukee is a Democratic candidate for the 16th Assembly District. Mr. Haywood, thanks for talking to WisconsinEye.
Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Give us the short version of your bio and then the top issue as you perceive it in the 16th.
Short. So I'm Kalan Haywood, born and raised in the 16th District in Brewers Hill. I've been involved in local politics for a very long time now. I served as president of the City of Milwaukee Youth Council for 2 years. Been involved in a lot of different community organizing organizations. So yeah, I've been around. I've been doing some things. I'm currently also the chair of the City of Milwaukee's Restorative Justice Advisory Board. But to pick a top one.
Well, you can pick 1, 2, or 3.
I'm gonna do 3 because there's a very large list of issues in our district.
Thank you.
So it's really unfair just to choose a top 1.
I agree.
But after hours and hours of assessing the current situation of our district, I picked 3. 1, increasing safety in our neighborhoods so that all residents feel safe in their own homes and they're walking to their car at night. 2, increasing employment. Employment's a very big thing. And then also 3, working on fixing our education system so therefore it benefits all students, regardless of race, gender, socioeconomic background, whatever it may be. We want them all to receive an effective and positive education.
Let's start with education. The MPS 4-year graduation rate is about 60%. How could that be improved, sir?
Well, that's actually been a big thing of mine. So when I read it, it was 58%, but it's somewhere around there. And if I'm correct, the state's average is 88%.
Yes, sir.
So when you do the math, it's between 28 and 30% lower here in MPS schools.
Right.
That means to me that when me and you sit in this room, if we were in class together, one of us wouldn't graduate. And when I think of that, that bothers me. I think the first step from doing doors and talking to teachers and talking to other educators around the city, a big thing is the curriculum. And being a recent graduate, I can attest to that. We need to work on our curriculum. We need to redevelop it. But when we redevelop that, we need to include teachers in that conversation. We need the educators in the room. They're the ones there every single day, and they understand the situation better than anybody else will. We need the students in that conversation. They're the ones in there every day and understand it better than the rest of us will. When we include them in there, you wouldn't go to the doctor and tell the doctor your son's sick, but wouldn't bring your son with you. So it's time we get teachers and educators and students in the room to talk about what should be taught, how it should be taught, what's working, what's not working. It's time for that.
That goes beyond more money, doesn't it? It goes to some new programming, some new emphasis?
So I'm in development. And in development, if you fund a deal and the deal doesn't work, you wouldn't keep funding the deal if you don't change anything about it. You go back to the drawing board, you and your team go in the conference room and you figure out what didn't work last time. And then you reassess the situation, and then you make a new plan. So we can't keep funding schools if it's not working. So yes, we need to make sure schools have the appropriate funding as well as the correct curriculum. Make sure we're teaching the right things. A teacher actually told me when I was doing doors, she's a 9th and 10th grade teacher. She said that when her students come in, they can't read. They can't read. So what she did was she gave them the test, they all failed the test. She redid the wording for the lesson, gave the test again, and guess what?
They all passed?
They all passed. But she knew that because she's in there every single day. So it's time we now bring them in the conversation, change the curriculum, make sure they have the support they need, the financial backing, but also make sure you work on the curriculum and make sure it all works together.
Choice, the voucher program. It's been part of Milwaukee's debate for more than 25 years.
Yeah, I believe Milwaukee started that.
Yeah, I think it was 91 and then it expanded in 95. Are you a choice supporter?
Regardless of what a parent chooses for their children, whether it's choice, whether it's charter, whether it's public school, I want to support that parent's choice. Because like I said before, the parents know their kids best. But now it's my job as a lawmaker to make sure no matter which choice they make is successful for their child. So they choose public schools. I want to make sure my public schools are doing, if not even better than the rest of the state, they're doing as good as their counterparts from nearby areas. If they choose choice schools, I'll make sure they're doing well in those choice schools. If they choose charter, I'll make sure that the charter school is doing what they're supposed to do to give that child the best education. So regardless of what they send their child to, what school, what type, we need to make sure that they all receiving the same accurate and efficient amount of education.
Your campaign website identifies the record high incarceration rate as a major issue. Tragically, Wisconsin leads the nation in the incarceration of African Americans.
53206 is in my district.
Where do we go to improve that, to begin to fix that?
I actually met with some of my future colleagues at the state about 2 weeks ago, some of the state senators, some of the state reps, and they told me about the new plan to bring children back home. And from Lincoln Hills, they're going to bring them back to the county, build new facilities or use existing ones, but bring them closer to home. Now, that's all fine and dandy. I'm all for children being closer to their families and being close to home. But then my question to me, as the chair of the Restorative Justice Advisory Board, is, now what do we do about stopping them from getting there? I don't really like talking about building more prisons and building more facilities for young people or adults. What can I do as a lawmaker and a policy changer to make sure they don't get there? So a big thing I've done at the city, I convinced the mayor's office, the common council, the community development block grant office, the municipal court, the Milwaukee Public Schools, and the Milwaukee Police Department. We have to give, especially when young, so if you get in there early, you stop them from happening later in life. So what we've done is we're actually implementing a youth court very soon. So when young people get in trouble with MPD, especially at schools, they get the option to come to a youth court, which is a panel of their peers, and they ask them what happened. Then now we figure out what happened. What do I feel you're missing? Is it resources? Is it exposure? Is it support? Whatever it may be, I'm going to direct you to this program. I'm going to have this activity done that's going to help you get what you're missing. And hopefully from that, one, you don't get a record, and so you don't get in the revolving door of the justice system. But two, you now have the exposure. The exposure is key. You now have the exposure and the resources needed to move forward in the right direction. A lot of people, all they need is a little nudge. You give them that nudge, I'm like, similar to a program like West Care, Wisconsin, or Urban Underground, which I worked with both. And they start to like what they do. After my time is up with the youth court working with them, I might go back like, hey, Mrs. Moore or Mrs. Cogs, can I please come back and work with you guys after this? Of course you can. And now they're doing something new than they were before. It's all about giving them that little push and giving them a helping hand to make a better path.
So has youth court been formally approved? If so, when's it going to start?
So actually, as president of the youth council, we implemented the advisory board. The advisory board has been approved. All the members who are on the advisory board, so the assistant chief, the municipal court executive director, the director of the CDBG, the MPS, all the members of the board, we have all decided that we want to implement it by the beginning of next school year. 2 pilots, one in the north side, one in the south side. Once we do pass it on our board, it has to go for approval by the common council and the mayor, of course. But since they are on the committee, I'm assuming they're all behind us. But I feel like we as a community have determined that now enough is enough. We can't keep sitting back and letting the same things happen. I did actually came from me traveling to a conference here in Wisconsin. There was a small county at the conference, they had a youth court. And I thought a small county that I never heard of has a youth court, but the biggest city in Wisconsin doesn't have one. And we have the most incarceration, we have the most problems, yet we don't have one. So I think everyone has realized that now, and that's why we feel like it's going to happen, but then it's going to be successful. That's our best, that's what we're wishing for, and it's going to happen. We're going to get it done.
Do we need to change gun laws, Kalan?
Gun laws has been a very heated debate. So actually my wristband says love up, lock down. So the lockdown guns. The thing is, I actually went to the March for Our Lives. They were here, the movement. They were here about 2 days ago. I went and spoke with them and heard their stories from around the country and other young people in the city. I can't sit back and watch another school shooting. I can't sit back and watch another 9-year-old at a press conference say how him and his classmates are scared and they can't focus on learning because they're scared someone's going to come in their school. I don't think any parent can consciously send their child to school and not know if they're going to be safe. So in order for parents to be comfortable, in order for students to be comfortable in the classroom, actually pay attention, actually learn, and actually graduate, we need to do something. We have to, 1, respect the Constitution, but 2, do something that ensures the safety of all our residents, regardless of age, regardless of race. Everyone has to be safe.
The gridlock in the capital and paying for our highways and bridges. How would you pay for our future highways and bridges?
When it comes to spending more money and paying for transportation, I feel that, so highways and bridges are a part of transportation. About 3 years ago, I was invited to the White House to speak with the Secretary of Transportation and other transportation officials, among other leaders around the country. So I do understand the importance of having an effective transportation system, the effective transportation ways. I actually traveled to Portland a couple years back, and I was downtown and I admired how beautiful their city was when it came to transportation. They literally had a streetcar lane, a bus lane, and a driving lane. Traffic flowed, everyone had a way to get to work, get to school, get home. It was very efficient. So I feel that, one, we need to work. I'm not really big on raising taxes. Homeowners, they don't want to pay more taxes. Actually, in Milwaukee, it's interesting. 101% of the property taxes goes to funding MPD.
Yeah, it does.
So we need to work on that. And my big thing is I actually went to school for accounting instead of political science or law, because I want to work with the money we already have and figure out ways to move that money around to fund transportation, to fund roadways, because those things play a key role when it comes to employment and addressing employment, make sure everyone can get to work. And that's a big, when we talk about employment, we never address the roadblocks of getting employed, getting to work. Transportation, the lack of, that's definitely one of the roadblocks. So we have to do something about funding that and making sure that's accessible for everyone.
But no to raising the gas tax, no to raising the registration fee. What about tolling is being discussed in the Capitol? What's your feeling on that?
So actually, I travel to Illinois a lot. Tolls, they get kind of interesting sometimes. I haven't formed an opinion yet on tolls, but good thing about Milwaukee, we're not the first one that are talking about having tolls. So now we have the opportunity, the unique opportunity of looking at how it's benefited or affected other cities, other states. So once we do that and do the homework and look at the stats, then we feel like it's going to benefit us economically, benefit our transportation, whatever it may be, then we can move forward like maybe we need tolls. But if it's not benefiting the city in the way it should, maybe we don't. So it's time for us to do that homework.
What are you hearing from 16th District residents on health care?
Whether you're in the 16th District, you're in the city of Milwaukee, you're in the state of Wisconsin, or the country period, a lot of people wait or have to wait until they're very sick, until they're very ill before they go to the doctor, because they don't have the accurate and appropriate health care. So instead of them taking preventive measures that will stop them from getting to that stage, they don't, because they can't afford it. Everyone's not making enough to afford that. So it's time that we support them and give them the appropriate amount of health care so they can take preventative measures. When they can do that, they can be healthier. We have a healthier community. And then at that point, when you have healthier communities, some of the problems we see, they're going to start to scale back some. So it's about building healthier communities. You have better working class. They have to make everyone healthy so they can be productive.
Does state government have a role, a duty, and obligation to retain or recruit physicians, nurses, and other medical professionals?
Yes, that's all about employment. We have to make employment a thing. We have to make working a job a thing again. We have to make it where it's accessible, one, so it's easy for people to get jobs. But also, we have to expand what we're going into. I feel a lot of time we pull into just certain jobs, one workforce. We have to support people in the trades, people in the medical careers. Whatever it may be, we have to support them and give them the resources needed to get there. So it's time we support our physicians. They're a big part of the healthcare system. We need more doctors, people that want to be doctors. But I know medical school isn't cheap. So we have to find ways to support them when they are going through that process, because they want to give back and serve their community too.
Unique issues in rural health care. Older residents, young people leaving, lower household income than the state average. Thoughts on how we continue, maybe improve rural health care?
I think that comes with studying the stats and studying the data as well. We're not the first ones to have this issue, and we're not the first ones to try to address it. So doing that homework and doing those stats, seeing what worked in other cities and what didn't, and then we figure out what can work for Milwaukee. and apply those templates. Let's not recreate the wheel when it's already there.
You've worked with local governments. Here's my question. Levee limits have been in existence since 2006. Some local officials say levee limits hurt their ability to provide services. Keep levee limits, loosen them, get rid of them.
I feel that all local governments should have a bigger say on what they spend their money on, more control of what happens in their cities. So yes, I will support whatever it takes to help local officials out. Rather, regardless of your city, what city you are in the state, I want to help you out because you are close, very close to your constituents. So it's time we as state lawmakers give you a helping hand to reach them and give them what they need. So we need to maybe loosen up some, but we need to give them the help they need.
You're a developer, you're a consultant, $4 billion in state and local tax breaks and incentives to Foxconn. You think if Foxconn develops as it says it will in Racine County, any 16th district constituents will get jobs there?
I think that's a funny question. My obligation and my duty is to make sure they do get those jobs. Whether it's Foxconn, the Northwestern Mutual building, the $1 billion Bucks deal, it's my job to make sure I connect my residents, especially those in the high poverty areas, to those jobs. But Foxconn isn't the sole answer to our problems. There's very low-hanging fruit in the city, small business owners, employers right around the corner that we have to also support as well when it comes to employing people in the city, people in the community, people in the 16th district. So we have to take care of the big things, get the big people here too, but it's also very low-hanging fruit that we have to take care of.
Would you have voted for Foxconn?
Foxconn is great for our region, I believe. It brings jobs, and if anything's bringing jobs, I support it. It's employing our people.
Okay.
And that's increasing economics, so I love that.
Legalize recreational marijuana, medical marijuana, your positions?
Again, Milwaukee isn't the first to have this discussion. Luckily, we're not on the forefront of that discussion. Other states have legalized recreational marijuana. So once we sit back and figure out did that affect the economy? Positively. Did it change incarceration rates? Positively. Did it affect employment? Positively. Once we evaluate those three, then maybe we can pass it. And when it comes to medical marijuana, I have an uncle right now who's battling prostate cancer. And for me to think that medical marijuana, due to the studies that have been done, can help him out through his battle with cancer or any other disease he may go through, or anybody else battling cancer or any other disease that medical marijuana can help, it's my duty as an elected official to do what I can to support them and support them getting the help they need. It all falls back to the healthcare piece. We have to have healthy residents, so we have a healthy community.
Last question. Open seat, busy primary. You want to highlight differences between you and your opponents on August 14th?
Well, I don't talk about my opponents.
Okay.
It's not something I do. But I will say that on August 14th, come election time, I do believe the constituents of the 16th district will pick the best man or woman for the job. And if I'm lucky enough to be that man for them, I promise I would do what is needed. I'd be that active voice, that outspoken voice to get what's done, get what's needed to be done. At the end of the day, I have a vision for Milwaukee, and that's for everyone to be prosperous, healthy, and have a high quality of life. So it's time as us all elected officials to get that done.
Kalan Haywood of Milwaukee is a Democratic candidate, the 16th Assembly District. The primary is August 14th. Kalan, thank you for talking to WisconsinEye.
Thank you.
Thank you.